All right, Ravens flock, we are back here for day 4 of training camp here for the Ravens. Once again, we are talking about practice, discussing some of the things that occurred, and then speaking a bit about what we heard from the media press conference that did happen today. So let's start off with the practice itself. Another one of these practices that wasn't majorly eventful. It's the first week. You're going to get some good stuff. You're going to get some bad stuff. And, you're going to get that short period of everybody just getting back to the aspect of, practicing, playing football again, just getting back to that whole aspect. That's pretty much how the first week operates. So you're going to get some great moments. You're going to get some bad moments. You're going to get some good moments, some decent moments, some poor moments, some horrible moments. You're going to get the whole bunch because it is the first week. Now, the Ravens do not practice tomorrow, so we will not be here tomorrow for a specific daily recap. We might do a week 1 recap as a whole. We'll see what we do tomorrow. But, they will not be practicing tomorrow. However, Monday, they get to put the pads on. And that's when things get to ramp up for real. Because now there's going to be a lot more contact there. And then we can start really seeing what this defense can do and really see how this offense is going to fare against them. And then practice gets to be more intense there. Anyway, that's for Monday. We'll see what happens. What happened to practice today? Not really eventful. Offensively, not much to say there. Lamar, again, was solid. Zay doing what he was doing. Not much to really say there. Bateman, making noise the way he has been doing so far in training camp, but not much there. However, there was one aspect to speak of, and that was Devontez Walker. Tez Walker has been making plays so far throughout this first week of training camp. He was making plays back in OTAs, and he's made plays throughout this first week. He's been matching up well in these one-on-one situations, and he's been getting a lot of tough catches. So it's great to see that Tez Walker is making noise early on here in training camp because, again, like I said, we all have high hopes that he could be a weapon in this offense that is utilized because he does bring an element that the other receivers don't have because each of our receivers are a different type of receiver, and you want to have variety within your wide receiving core in terms of one aspect that guy does well. So in that situation, to go towards him. Another guy does this well, so to go towards him. In this situation, he works best in the slot. He works best outside. You just want to have variety within the depth pieces of your wide receiving core. And Tez Walker has the opportunity to try to fight for that wide receiver 4 spot. So, the fact that he's making plays early on, you love to see it. But other than that, not much to really say about the offense in terms of the good. In terms of the bad, it's starting early on, but it makes sense as to why this is happening, and we'll speak about it because Todd Monken was on the podium today, and he kind of spoke about that. So the bad. The Ravens were committing a lot of false starts. I wouldn't say the offensive line. The offense as a whole, they've been committing a lot of penalties early on here in training camp. It hasn't been great, but there's a specific reason as to why that's happening. And when I talk about Todd Monken, you would understand as to why that's happening and how that is being addressed. But yeah, that is a negative. A lot of penalties, some holding calls here, a bunch of false starts, just things you don't want to see. But it's training camp, it's practice. You're going to see these things happen. Other than that, not much to say about the offense. Defensively, again, not any huge splash plays for the most part. Jair still making noise, he's still making plays, and he's being active after every defensive play. So he's bringing the energy that we love to see. We haven't had this type of energy from a DB since Marcus Peters, so we love what Jair is doing. Other than that, nobody was really majorly standing out other than Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins, again, making plays, making stops, and Nate Wiggins is putting together a nice early start to training camp here, so hopefully he can keep that up. Love what we're seeing from Nate Wiggins. But other than that, defensively, not much to really say. Again, it was another one of those practices, we're just getting back, just getting started, just slowly ramping up. And as training camp goes forward, especially with the pads coming on, as training camp progresses, it will become more and more intense. It's the first week, so we're not really tripping over it. Special teams. The talk of the town, Tyler Loop. The man continues to stay perfect. He had a perfect week of practice. There was only one day he didn't practice, but they held him out in that aspect. But in terms of the days he practiced, he had a perfect week, perfect start to training camp. He has not missed a kick in training camp so far. So that is great. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities from like 50 plus, but he still has made it, including the one that he had, the 63-yarder that I talked about yesterday. So he's making his kicks. He hasn't missed a single kick. But again, we have to see him in the preseason, because when it comes to game time pressure and game time situations, how do you fare in those situations? So we'll see what he does there. But right now, we like what we're seeing. Tyler Loop has not missed a kick in practice so far throughout training camp. He's made everything. You love to see it. You love to just see him just being accurate and being able to hit from anywhere. And we know the guy's got a leg, because we saw him kick from 63 plus, well, we heard him kick from 63 plus yards the other day. So it's great to see him making all of his kicks. Other than that, not much to really say here. Was, again, another one of those type of days where it was just a practice for the Ravens. Some of the coaches actually met up with the media today. They were on the podium. Zachary Orr for the defense, again, praising the defense in terms of the work that they're showcasing. And he made sure to express how they're off to a better start now compared to what they were before. They're better, they're performing better than where they were at this time last year. So that's great. And he also emphasized his agreement with Marlon Humphrey, in terms of Marlon Humphrey talking about how the Ravens defense isn't really being seen as a feared unit, and he wants to bring back that level of fear, so people can finally start looking at the Ravens defense as a fearsome unit again. And Zachary Orr agrees with that. He wants to bring back that level of fear that the Ravens defense used to have back when he was still playing, which was a good time, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was a good time. I remember those days where people used to say, you don't want to face the Ravens in the playoffs. It's been a long time since people have said that. Nowadays, you want to face them in the playoffs, because they always find a way to hurt themselves. You just got to take a step back and let them crash and burn. It's crazy how the last two playoff losses we had, it was literally just Mahomes and Allen's just sitting back, doing the bare minimum, and just making sure they don't do anything dumb while watching Baltimore just self-destruct. It's crazy how that works. They're just watching the Ravens self-destruct the last few years. So that has been problematic. But yeah, Zachary Orr wants to bring back that level of intensity and fear, that the Ravens defense used to have. And obviously, he's got the personnel to do it. So let's see how that's going to work out. As for the other side, Todd Monken, our offensive coordinator, spoke with the media today and also talked about how the offense is, kind of better off now, or at least starting off well now compared to where they were last year. They're better. He knows the offense better. He knows how to utilize Derrick Henry better. It's better. They're better as a unit this year to start off as opposed to what they were last year, because you got some new pieces that were coming in, and especially with Derrick Henry coming in, he's trying to figure out how to navigate all that in the offense. Of course, Lamar being in his system another year just makes it easier, and him and Lamar have that connection in terms of what they want to talk about, what Lamar's seeing, what he's trying to run, what Todd's trying to run, how that whole aspect goes. But everything is going well in terms of the aspects of building up this offense. But there are some road bumps, and that's what I wanted to bring up. The main road bump you're seeing right now is with all these penalties, specifically the false start penalties. There's a reason for that, and that reason is because Todd Monken is having the offense utilize a lot more cadences, because they want to be a lot more situationally aware in these circumstances in terms of certain cadences and certain looks that they're trying to put out there. So because of these new cadences that they're trying to run, it's leading to a lot of false starts, which is frustrating, of course, Lamar, and it's frustrating Todd Monken 100%. No one's more pissed off with all of these penalties than Todd Monken, because he's trying to establish these cadences, something that could help us down the line in terms of pre-snap situations, and everybody's just jumping off sides or false starts and all this other stuff. So it's something that is bound to happen when you're trying to implement these new cadences at the beginning, but it is a work in progress, and over time they will be able to get that together. So I'm not too worried about that. Todd Monk is going to get that together, and eventually the offense will get used to the new cadences by the time training camp pretty much wraps up and they're getting ready for the season. So we'll see how things go. Anyway, that wraps up today's practice, and that wraps up week 1 of training camp. So we will see what happens in week 2. Like I said, there is no practice for the Ravens tomorrow. They will be back Monday with the pads, and we'll just go from there. So we'll see what happens on Monday. With that being said, guys, that's all I got here. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.